Welcome back, folks. This is Derek, or Lycan 101, and this video is going to be probably the last installment of Dragonrider's Revenge. So thanks for sticking with me if you've gotten this far, and I hope you enjoy the outcome. When we last left off, I mentioned that certain members of the party were not who they seem. What did I mean by that? Well, during my interrogation of the other party members that are in my group, one of them reveals that he's been having visions, like I said, and that in one of his visions he saw that without me and without Straga, the mission would fail and the world would end because of my need for vengeance. He also revealed that Maximus was not who he says he was, or is, and that he's been working for the Obsidian Order all along, that he was too perfect, that he was crafted to be the perfect minion for me to just let into my circle of trust and then be revealed as a traitor and eventually try to kill me. Because he was a dragon disciple, and he was actually sent from the Obsidian Order to be the perfect minion, the perfect cohort for me. And I didn't want to believe this, so we interrogate. I then turned my attention towards Maximus, and we used Circle of Truth him, and I had Straga basically make sure, and some of the other party members make sure that he couldn't get away. And I didn't want to believe it until he told me outright in the Circle of Zone of Truth that it was true, that he was an Obsidian Order member. Needless to say, I was very upset, and gave the order to kill him. I had our chaotic, evil assassin, the one who's been having the visions, go to kill him. But just as the blade was about to touch his neck and kill him, a voice comes up and says, I still have need of him. And the visage of Haparu, the evil deity, appears and spirits Maximus away from me in my vengeance. So, needless to say, Maximus now has to die. So does Haparu all the more. And the Obsidian Order still has to die. So, the last thing Haparu said before she vanishes was that she confirmed that the Obsidian Order leader is waiting to the south, waiting to meet me. At which I really now decided I would need to go south and get things done. However, as the party members, are arguing back and forth whether to head west or south, guess who shows up? Richard. For those of you who don't remember Richard is a crazy, loopy in the head, lawful, good paladin. He just doesn't realize that he's doing things for the evil people because he's messed up in the head. Shows up and talks to us and is confusing as always, and I just want to get out of here and head to the south. And the assassin reveals that he has had another vision in which Richard joins our party if we can only heal his fractured mind. And so we're like, cool. My first thought is great, now we have to keep Richard around, but Richard leaves again and just is there to be an annoyance as always, at least to me. We get into, as we start to leave and head south, we get into we're attacked by assassins, basically. Tau, the race that the Dragonrider is, and the original Dragonrider. And they are basically here as assassins for Haparu to kill us. Which is lovely, because they were really hard to beat. In terms of out of game, it took us, I think, 2.5 hours to defeat 3 of them. They had these special abilities where they don't take damage from certain things at certain times based on what they were attacked with previously. So if you hit one with an arrow, then they gain resistance to arrows, or piercing. Then you have to hit them with slashing, then they gain resistance to slashing. Then they gain resistance, if you hit them with a fireball, they gain resistance to fire. Then if you hit them with ice, then they're immune to ice, but then now they can get hit by piercing. And it took us forever to figure this out, but we eventually defeated them, and they were assassins from Haparu, like I said. And with that, we realized, yeah, we should just go take out. The rest of the party conceded and said, yeah, we'll just go take out the boss. So we knew exactly where he was, and I had this devious master plan in mind. We have several characters who are this race of individuals called Mycrants, and they can they have a special ability, racial ability, that they can basically take possession of a person, but they just kind of like sit inside. They can't make them become like a puppet master and make them do whatever they want. They can just get in and read surface thoughts in the mind. So I have one person inside me. I have another character who basically is like a liquid man, and he can get inside this little ball that he has. So basically, I put him in that little ball, and I put that little ball in my backpack. Then he has a stone guardian that can basically shapeshift. So we have it shapeshift into a small animal, and I put that in a belt pouch. And then I have the two party members inside me, a person in my backpack, and Strug is outside. Two other party members are outside, waiting outside the cave, where we're going to go defeat the boss, the Obsidian Order boss. And he told me to come alone. So I came alone, but I had the whole party with me, almost. And I can summon Strug like that, with a snap of my fingers, and he'll be there. So it was a pretty epic plan to come in and just be like, oh yeah, it's just me. I came to defeat you by myself. Whoa, surprise, there's all of us. We're all here. So it was going to be a wonderful surprise until we kind of jumped the gun a little bit, and everybody jumped out and revealed themselves and attacked wholeheartedly, and it was a mirror image of the leader, and he was actually farther into the cave network. So it was a little depressing, because I should have just kept them all hidden, and then it would have been an awesome reveal. He would have just known that was just me. But eventually, we do find the Obsidian Order boss, and there's this large crystal in the center of the room that everyone instantly is like, oh, attack the crystal, attack the crystal. And I'm like, no, 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 attack the boss. And Strog and I fly down onto him, pin him to the ground, and then I start, like Chinese water torture and little paper cut torture in between his fingers and everything, and start cutting him up, being really chaotically evil. And I have to say, this was one of the best moments of the campaign, because I actually got so invested in my character. If anybody's been watching Sean Connor's Advanced Players videos, I went full method actor on this one. I was no longer Derek sitting in the room. I was Diago Thalas and Straga, and totally invested into my revenge at that moment, that it got so far to the point where other party members were like, what are you doing? We need you to do this. We need to do this. And I'm like, shut up. I'm taking my revenge. And I kind of forgot that they were in the room for a second, because in my mind I could see it all happening. It was so perfect. I saw it all happening, the cutting, the slashing, the holding him down, the visage of his face as he's got this smug look on his face, and I'm just gonna take my revenge. It was such a good moment. It was one of the best role-playing moments I've ever had. And turns out, as I start to cut him, I don't even realize it, that I'm getting cut too, and he has this ability to link us together. So as I'm killing him, I'm killing myself. I just don't realize it. And neither does Straga, because of all of our hatred and revenge is pulled together towards this one entity right now, this one moment. And it's not until Richard shows up again that I actually look up for a second and realize that I'm practically gushing blood all over my face and body from random cuts that I've put on this guy. And the party then drags me off, which then angers Straga, and Richard grabs the Obsidian Order boss and stabs him, taking and killing him, taking my final vengeance, at which point I decided Richard needs to die. And I was really, really, really upset about this, and I was like, no, Richard took my final vengeance, I was just about to kill him. And that's when Richard starts to laugh and says, I'm not who you think I am. And then the dead Obsidian Order boss's visage kind of melts away into what had been Richard, and the Richard standing before us melts away to be the Obsidian Order boss. So turns out everyone is not who they said they were, and Richard is now dead. The Obsidian Order boss is still alive, and to make matters worse, Haparu shows up. So we learn that Richard has been dead for 3 years. We never met the real Richard, and instead dealt with the leader of the order named Karth. So then I go and grapple Karth, taking my revenge, and killing him by grappling him with Straga, pinning him to the ground, and just as I'm about to coup de grace him with an arrow shot to the face, he looks up, and there's kind of like this darkness in his eyes that clears away for a second. And he's like, "Who are you? Why are you attacking us?" And I'm like, "You know who I am. You killed my family, or you killed my mother. You know why I'm here. You are set about to destroy the world." And he just has this blank look on his face, like he doesn't understand. And I still kill him. And it's at that moment that it clicks in my head that the Obsidian Order is being controlled by Haparu. They don't worship her. They're being controlled by her. So they're all just little pawns, and she is actually the one that set things up in motion. So there's all these other background things that are starting to click in my head that things are not all what they seem. We then have an epic battle against Haparu that lasts 3 hours, and we start just trying to destroy her and kill her with everything we can, attacking her with everything we've got. I'm happy because I've got my revenge. Now only one more person needs to die, and that's Haparu. And our arcane archer in the group pulls off an epic arrow shot that basically temporarily paralyzes her into place. I then have Straga come up and grapple her to the ground, pinning her so that she's in a helpless condition. And then I'm standing above her to coup de grace her with an arrow shot, and I have my assassin in the group ready to do the same thing. And shoot her right in the face, coup de grace for the win, got the final kill, and she's at 0, or literally she's like wavering at she's at 1, she's at unconsciousness, or almost unconsciousness. And it's at this moment the advocates, the gods themselves, the lesser gods, show up and pull Haparu and say thanks for putting her back into place, basically, because she is an advocate, and that they're going to say, you're done, we got her under our heel, thanks for that. At the same time, this giant 6-armed titan creature shows up on an opposing side and basically says, kill her, we need her dead, don't let her survive, and otherwise this will all happen again. And he's we learn after we basically make some checks that he's one of the precursors, that the precursors say, kill Haparu, we need her dead. However, one of the advocates is the one that gave me Straga, so I side with them. The rest of the party sides with the precursors. So we have a small little PvP moment until, again, the arcane archer can pull off a deadly shot that hits Haparu and kills her outright. There's then this epic white flash, and we are taken to this, our souls are basically pulled out of our bodies for a moment, and we're in this white room, this white space, and the precursors that we've all met before and the advocates are there. The advocates are all sitting on giant thrones, and they're like colossal size. But one of the precursors steps up and says, we told you that they wouldn't side with you. We told you that you would lose. Now honor your end of the bargain and leave. We're all confused by this, and the advocates say, no, you didn't win. Things will continue as always. And then one of the other precursors steps up and says, no, we told you how this would happen. We will ensure that you leave. So we're all pretty lost at this point, and it's then that it's explained to us that the advocates are not actually gods. They are basically aliens. They're from another set of planets that they've come here looking for power to increase their power base. And they wanted dominion over this world. And they set all these little plans in motion along each of our paths, each of our characters' origins, to ensure that this conflict against Haparu occurred, so that way they could then have direct control should we fail. So they framed the Obsidian Order. They killed my mother. They set the Obsidian Order mark against the wall, saying that it was the Obsidian Order that killed her. They were the one that basically set the investigation in motion to bring us all together. And then there's another character whose parents disappeared and were involved in something else, and they made her parents disappear. And they are basically the puppet masters behind all of this to set this one event in motion to ensure that they could then have Haparu win, and then we would fall. However, and then the world would fall. However, the precursor stepped in and ensured that we won. So the precursors then seal away the advocates, and we basically save the day. We won. We saved the planet. We are all alive. The precursors thank us for their help, and they apologize for having to be so withholding of information. They couldn't tell us everything. But then it made sense as I look back at all the little moments when we met a precursor and they would say things like, "Oh, you should know this. You guys have to know this. You have to be able to stop this." They all seemed really invested in us because they knew what was at stake. That without us, the world would fall, and that there was this larger game of power happening behind the scenes, and that we were just little pawns on the front lines. So while we thought we were awesome, epic superheroes saving the day, we're just little pawns on the front lines, all getting moved across the board by the larger entities, which was pretty cool. So we learned that Diagothalas and Straga have taken their final revenge on both Haparu and upon the Obsidian Order, but his hatred of the Obsidian Order might have been misplaced. However, given that the day is saved and the Obsidian Order is now leaderless, what does that leave for our characters? For my character, what's the end game? Well, Maximus is still out there. Maximus still needs to be hunted down and killed for his betrayal. We have to figure out what his whole thing is, why he chose to betray me, why he worked with the Obsidian Order, why he chose to be controlled by Haparu. The establishment and expansion of my order, the one that I mentioned in the last episode with the Dragon Banner, needs to happen because now I'm about level 14, I believe, and my power base now includes. I'll need a new cohort, and I don't know, about 60 to 70 people, so it's pretty crazy. And Diagothalas also plans to go back and either kill or integrate the Obsidian Order into his own organization now that he knows that they're not entirely as evil as he thought they were. So now he's going to ferret out those that are the worst and bring them under his heel, basically, and ensure that nothing else happens. He will then go back to the Dragon's Den and continue his training with the original Dragonrider. And who knows what else will happen with Diagothalas and Straga. I thoroughly enjoyed this campaign. It was by far one of my favorites that I've got to play in, and there was a lot of sneaky, underhanded plot lines and plot twists by our GM/DM, and that would be, for those of you who don't know, that'd be Balanced Pyro here on YouTube, Brian. Thanks for a great campaign. If you don't know Balanced Pyro, go check out his channel. He posts videos every once in a while. Great stuff. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So yeah, this brought the end of the Dragonrider's Revenge series. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope my ramblings about Diagothalas and Straga were enough to whet your appetites to go play some D&D, some Pathfinder, and to maybe hunt down the Dragonrider class online and give it a shot. So, as always, folks, thanks for watching. This has been Derek, or Leica 101, and this is the end of Dragonrider's Revenge.